Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. With these actions, this spiritual content will reach more ears. Chapter 6. Some indications on the scope and limits of disbelief in oneself and of complete trust in God. Since all the strength by which our enemies are overcome is born in us from disbelief in ourselves and from trust in God, it is necessary for you, my brother, to acquire exact knowledge of this, in order always to have this strength and to preserve it with the help of God. Know then, and never forget, that neither all our capacities and good features, whether natural or acquired, nor all the gifts freely given to us, nor the knowledge of all the Scriptures, nor the fact that we have for long worked for God and have acquired experience in these labors, nor all this together will enable us to do God's will rightly. If at every good deed pleasing to God which we are about to undertake, at every affliction we wish to avoid, at every cross we have to bear according to God's will, if, I say, on all these and similar occasions, a special divine help does not inspire our heart and does not give us strength to accomplish it, as the Lord said, "Without me you can do nothing." So for the duration of our life, every day and at every moment, we must keep unchanged in our heart the feeling, conviction, and disposition that on no occasion can we allow ourselves to think of relying on ourselves and trusting ourselves. As regards trust in God, I will add the following which I have said in the 3rd chapter. Know that nothing is easier for God than to give you victory over your enemies, whether they be few or many, whether they be old and strong, or new and weak. Yet he has his own time and order for everything. Therefore, if a soul be overburdened with sins, if it be guilty of all the crimes in the world, if it be defiled beyond imagination, if, at the same time, to the extent of its desire and strength, it uses every means and endeavor to become free of sin and turn to the path of good, but cannot get stable in anything right, however small, and on the contrary sinks ever deeper and deeper into evil. Even if it is all that, it must not weaken in its trust of God or fall away from Him. It must not abandon its spiritual weapons and strivings, but must fight and fight, struggling with itself and with its enemies, and with all its courage and untiring efforts. For know and understand that as in this unseen warfare all are losers, except a man who never ceases to struggle and to keep his trust in God. For God never abandons those who fight in His armies, although at times He lets them suffer wounds. So fight, everyone, and do not give ground, for the whole thing is in this unceasing struggle. God is always ready with remedies for those struck down by the enemies, and with help of overcoming them, which He sends to His warriors in due time, if they seek Him and firmly hope in Him. At some hour, when they least expect it, they will see their proud enemies vanish, as it is written, "The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight." Chapter 7. On how we should exercise our mind, lest it be sick with the disease of ignorance. If disbelief in oneself and trust in God, so indispensable in our spiritual warfare, remain alone in us, not only shall we never gain victory, but we shall fall into still greater evil. For in addition and accompanying them, we must practice works of a special kind and perform exercises in spiritual instruction. First among these must be exercises of mind and will. The mind should be freed and guarded from ignorance, which is most harmful, for it darkens the mind and prevents it from knowledge of the truth, which is its proper object and the aim of its aspirations. For this reason it should be exercised, to make it clear and lucid, able to discern correctly what we need to purify our soul from passions and to adorn it with virtues. There are 2 means by which we can acquire such clarity of mind. The first and most necessary is prayer, by which we must implore the Holy Spirit to pour His divine light into our hearts. This He will surely do, if we truly seek God alone and sincerely strive to obey His will in everything, willingly submitting in all affairs to the advice of our experienced spiritual fathers, and doing nothing without asking them. The second method of exercising the mind is always to examine things and probe deep for knowledge of them, in order to see clearly which of them are good and which are bad. We should judge them not as the world and the senses do, but as they are judged by right reason and the Holy Spirit, or by the word of the divinely inspired Scriptures, or that of the Holy Fathers and the teachers of the Church. For if this examination and deepening of knowledge is right and proper, it will quite certainly enable us to understand clearly that we must with all our heart regard as valueless, vain, and false all that the blind and depraved world loves and seeks. In particular, we shall then see that the honors, pleasures, and riches of this world are nothing but vanity and the death of the soul. That the slander and abuse with which the world persecutes us brings us true glory, and its afflictions, joy. That to forgive our enemies and to do good to them is truly magnanimity, one of the greatest traits of the likeness of God. That a man who scorns the world shows greater strength and power than a man who rules over the whole world. That willing obedience is an action which shows more courage and strength of spirit than subjugating great kings and ruling over them. That humble self-knowledge should be preferred to all other kinds of knowledge, however high. That to overcome and kill one's own evil tendencies and lusts, however insignificant, is more worthy of praise than the capture of many fortresses, or the defeat of powerful and well-equipped armies, even more than the power to perform miracles and to raise the dead. Chapter 8. On reasons for our wrong judgment of things, and how to form a right judgment of them. The reason why we have wrong judgment of things we mentioned earlier is that we do not look deeply into them to see what they are, but conceive a liking for them or a dislike for them at the very first glance, judging by appearances. These likes and dislikes prejudice our mind and darken it, and so it cannot form a right judgment of things as they really are. So, my brother, if you wish to be free of this prelust in your mind, keep strict attention over yourself, and when you see a thing with your eyes, or visualize it in your mind, keep a firm grip on your desires, and do not allow yourself at the first glance either to conceive a liking for the thing or a dislike for it, but examine it in a detached way, with the mind alone. Unobscured by passion, the mind then remains in a natural state to it, which is free and pure, and has the possibility to know the truth and to penetrate into the depths of a thing, where evil is often concealed by a deceptively attractive exterior, and where good is sometimes hidden under a bad appearance. But if desire comes first and at once either likes a thing or turns away from it, your mind no longer has the possibility to know it rightly as it should. For if this predisposition, or rather this passion, precedes every judgment, it enters within, becomes a wall between the mind and the thing, and, obscuring the mind, makes it form its judgment from passion. In other words, it sees it not as it really is, which strengthens still more its original predisposition. The further this predisposition runs ahead, or the more it likes or dislikes a thing, the more it obscures the mind in relation to it, until it darkens the mind completely. Then passion in relation to this thing reaches its ultimate limits, so that it appears to a man either as the most desirable or the most hateful of all things he ever liked or disliked. Thus it happens that when the rule I have indicated is not observed, that is, when desire is not restrained from forming likes and dislikes before a thing is properly examined, then both these powers of the soul, mind and will always work wrongly, plunging ever deeper and deeper from darkness to darkness and from sin to sin. So watch, my beloved, with all attention, and protect yourself from liking or disliking a thing out of passion, before you have had the time to examine it properly in the light of reason and the just word of the divine Scriptures, in the light of grace and prayer, and with the help of the judgment of your spiritual Father. Otherwise, you may sin in taking evil for what is truly good, and for good what is truly evil. This mostly happens in the case of certain actions, which are good and holy in themselves, but which, according to circumstances, namely that if they are done at the wrong time, or are out of place, or are not done in the right measure, cause considerable harm to those who do them. We know from experience what afflictions are suffered by some through such worthy and holy deeds.